Oh Lordy, honey, what have you done? Oh no, no, it's the sound of my gun. Oh Lordy, honey, what have you done? Tell me now it's untrue. And what did her daddy do? He drank a little bit of baby, but made his disappear. What did her daddy do? She said the spell that she was under, but lightning never thunder, didn't someone had to stop her
Women are stupid and I don't respect them. That's right, I just have sex with them. Show me your genitals. Your genitals.
What?
Show me your genitals. And I don't respect them. Show me your genitals. I just have genitals.
What?
Show me your genitals.
Genitalia.
Women talk to me about stuff. Why? I'd rather see your titties. about other stuff. Why? I'd much rather see your titties. Why? I can't have sex with your personality, and I can't put my penis in your college degree, and I can't shove my fist in your childhood dreams. So why are you sharing all this information with me? It's not sexist because I'm saying it in a song. That's right, bitch. Now take off your thong. Why are you sharing genitals? Your genitals. What? Show me your genitals. In a song. That's right, your genitals. Take off your genitals. What? Show me your genitals. Knock, knock, who's there? It's me, wondering why you're not naked. Knock, knock, who's there? Me again, still wondering why you're not naked. It's me, I wanna see your bum, I don't care what you say. No, I don't have feelings, feelings are gay. Still wondering why you're something in the month of May. Bitches love my penis cause it's really big. No, I don't. Girls' brains are much stupider than me. Still wondering why you're something in the month of May. Bitches love my penis cause it's really big. No, I don't. Girls' brains are much stupider than me. Still wondering why you're something in the month of May. Bitches love my penis cause it's really big. No, I don't. Girls' brains are much stupider than me. Still wondering why you're something in the month of May. Bitches love my penis cause it's really big. No,
I had the preview running. I apologize, guys. I forgot to mute that. All right. It's been a while. It's been a while since I live streamed, so sorry for the crazy double, well, I guess we'll just say echo. All right. So sorry about that. When I hit the preview for the stream, I forgot I did not have it muted.
Can't hear him.
All right, so I hear somebody.
Can't hear him.
This is the famous Mrs. Ka, right?
Hi guys, I can't hear Joe.
All right. Hold on, I'll fix that. All right, there you go. There you go. Hey, Holly in the chat box. And Mrs. Ka, can you hear me? I think you can hear me now. All right. So, what I wanted to do was
Joe?
stream it. Yes.
I can't hear you on Hangout. I'm not muted, am I? Can you guys hear me? You can. That's crazy.
All right. Can you, everybody in YouTube land, can you hear Mrs. Ka, and can you hear me? All right. So everybody can hear everybody except Mrs. Ka cannot hear me.
Should I leave the call maybe?
Let's all right.
Oh, now I can hear you.
All right. Perfect. Okay. It's like a reunion of sorts. Yes.
Yay.
All right. So everybody hears everybody, and sorry for not muting the preview. So my bad. So Mrs. Ka and I, we were having some discussions and some DMs about some of the topics that have come across, some of the videos and the different stuff that has transpired. And I thought that it would actually make a good live stream. And because Mrs. Ka is so smart and knows more than me, I thought she'd be a good co-host. So thank you for coming. Absolutely. See, she knows she's smarter than me, and she's not denying it. She's not denying it. All right. So enough of the girls. What do you think? We have enough of the girls. So let's turn off the girls. Shall we? Okay. So the first article, well, it's not actually an article. I want to do a video review of this video from Alexander Grace. He put this video out, and I personally was pretty shocked by the whole thing. I was pretty shocked by the entire thing. So I thought, hey, let's talk about it. And Mrs. Ka, she has her own perspective from the female side of things. And there's another video that Mrs. Ka thought would be interesting, so we're going to cover that one too. And then I have a news article. So 1, 2, 3, pretty much. All right, and without further ado, let's get to the first one. All right, that's which button on OBS? Which button on OBS? No, not that button. There we go, that button. Okay. All right, so I'm going to just set this up for you. What Alexander Grace does is a big part of his channel is he just asks like man on the street questions. That's all he does. He just walks up, and they're usually women. He walks up to women and asks them a bunch of questions, and the same question to different women. And in this video, you're going to see questions being asked from somewhere in England, and then another set of questions are being asked in Austria. And here we go.
We have some controversial answers. Yeah, you're going to get hate.
How many single partners is a woman likely to have by the time she is 30?
How many is she likely to have?
Maybe around 15.
15?
I think any amount is acceptable, but on average I'd say over 20.
5 to 10, maybe.
Upwards of 50, only because for women, I think they're very experimental in their teenage years.
Like about 30, maybe 30, 40. It depends on how open a woman is. I mean, I think it's okay also if the woman has zero partners, that's also fine if she doesn't want to. But I think like an average number would be like 40.
I reckon 30, at least. Yeah, I don't know. I reckon upwards of 50. Like, nothing to be ashamed of if they do. I reckon that's a normal number.
20.
¿Cómo? I don't know. Maybe
The ideal one, 20.
20?
You are 22, and how many have you had?
No, I think maybe 10. Yeah, 10. But I think it's okay to have any number. If you have 100, if you have 200, it's also fine, you know.
Is it possible for a woman to have sex with a man and have no emotional investment?
Yeah, I do think so.
Okay.
I don't think so from past experiences.
Yes.
All right, Mrs. Khan, I want to pause right here because we're moving on to another question.
Right.
What do you think about...
Just FYI, Joe, I cannot hear the video on piping through. I'm looking at it on my TV, and it's got a the captions on it, so I can see.
I mean, I did all this work, and you could hear it earlier, but not now, huh?
Exactly. But I'm keeping up.
All right. Well, you've already watched the video.
Yeah.
So the big question of how many partners do they have, you know?
Right.
Or how many partners you think a woman, will have by the age of 30.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers were like pretty high, I thought. Most of them were like 20 plus.
Yeah. Huge.
So in your mind, that's huge.
It is.
Okay.
It is.
All right. In my mind, it's also huge. It's my mind.
Right.
It is also huge, or is how does Trump say it? Huge? It's huge.
Huge.
So that's what I think. All right. Let me see if I can get this audio pipe through. It's so annoying. All right.
I think he's captioned most of these videos, so that's kind of nice.
All right. Well then. All right. Well, forget it then. We won't pipe the audio right now.
Let's just see how it goes with the captions. I think it'll be all right.
All right. So the next question is it possible for women to have sex with a man and have no emotional investment? So before the ladies answer, what about you?
No. I think the majority of women, that answer is no.
So what if you're one of these women who have had sex with 30 or 40 or 50 men? Are you having emotional attachments with all of these men? That seems very hard to believe.
Yeah, I don't think women are. I think there are very few women on this planet who, as they say, have sex like men and don't attach. But I think women, the majority of women, like biologically, I think they naturally want to attach. And no, I don't think they're attaching to, 50 people. I think that's where a lot of the emotional problems come in when you start having that many partners, is that unfulfillment, that disconnect, all of that. So that's my view on it.
All right, and Whoosh Whoosh is in the box, and he wants to say hi to you, Mrs. Khan, because
hi, Whoosh.
He's a fan, I suppose.
I'm a fan.
And I don't know what Whoosh Whoosh is doing here. Isn't he supposed to be in a van crisscrossing the country, having all sorts of cool fun?
That's what we were hoping.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's finish up and see what else they have to say.
Yeah, it is.
No, I don't think so. I wish that was true, but I think it's just how we're made.
Of course it is. It's possible, definitely.
Tricky. Past experience? No. We were just talking about this.
For me, no.
For me, will be difficult.
I think if people are being honest, it's pretty tricky.
And which gender is better suited to casual sex, men or women?
Definitely men.
I would say men.
Men. I'd say men.
Men.
Probably men.
I think it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure both.
Okay.
I don't really understand why.
I think they're very easy to just plant their seed and leave, while the women are the ones that actually have to deal with everything afterwards.
I would say both, honestly. I don't think there's much of a difference. It really depends on your personality and if you get attached to someone quite easily.
After a woman has slept with a man, is she more likely to look for positive traits in his personality?
Probably yes. I would say so from experience.
I definitely think so, from, once again, past experiences. Probably, yes.
Yes, I think so.
I think so. I do. You just kind of get wrapped up into them, I think, a bit, and you really trust them.
I think it depends on how the night was.
I think it depends on how the men leave you. So if it's just one night stand, they never text you back, you're gonna look at like, oh, he's this, he's that, like, oh, he's trash, that's why he didn't message me back. But if it ends up good and then your friends are like, oh, like he's trash, then I think that's when you get defensive and you're trying to find reasoning behind you doing it.
Oh, you just don't want to tell your friends, oh, I just slept with this douchebag, and I don't know. It's just not a nice feeling.
It depends on how the have gone. Then if it has gone good, then you start thinking, oh, actually he...
Okay. So I like this woman. I like that woman on the right. Because it's not the only time she says it depends. It's how you feel. I think she's I think she's awesome, because it's really, I think it's an insight into a woman's mind. What do you think? Is everything feelings based?
Most things are, I think. And these women are all of them are, it's interesting because I think society has kind of pushed them to try to behave more like men. You can see when you really pin them down and ask these questions, they waver on the side of, yeah, we want to attach, we want to find, good qualities in these guys that we sleep with. We want to have a reason that we slept with them, other than that it was Saturday night,
So the truth that nobody else would have them is not what they want?
The truth that nobody else would have them. Oh, yeah, yeah. No, they don't want to definitely go and hear that.
Well, let's just say you're in college and you're out and about, and all your friends are pairing off with some guy. Do you want to be the girl who doesn't pair off that night?
You know what's funny is, yeah, I would be like, okay, have fun, see ya.
Oh, I'm not. No, I am not
That's
directing
so
these
funny.
questions at you. I'm
No,
just
I know. I'm just saying it can be done. Like it's sad to me that women are that, sheep like about their behavior. That sucks to me if you're going to sleep with someone because your friends are, really.
well, I'm just using the college thing as an example.
It's a good example. It's accurate.
I don't really know if it's accurate because I
I
didn't
think
hang
it
out.
is.
Well,
No,
one,
I
I'm
think
older than these women, and I didn't hang out. I didn't hang out with all the loose girls either. So I'm
women were
just,
doing that when we were college age, Joe. Women were
yeah,
still doing some
yeah,
of this
I know.
behavior.
I know women were giving up, but what I didn't see was like the death of dating, and
Right.
that is what I've learned is what's happened to young women now. They don't go on dates anymore. They hang out in these big groups, and then they
Hmm.
pair off.
Right.
And
Yeah.
my daughter, I remember, she was so gung ho about joining this sorority. Oh my goodness. She just had to be, it was like the most important thing in the world. And her freshman year, she was living in student housing because that's how the school, that's the rules. But the moment she could move into the sorority house, she did. And then she hated it. And I was really surprised by the story she told me. And one of the stories she said was, she'd be out with the girls, and she would say, "Well, where's so and so?" And the answer would be from the older girls, "Oh, she's shacking." Well, now at the time, I was like, "What the hell does that mean? What does shacking mean?"
Hmm.
Oh, shacking up or oh. And that's just how it went. That's just how it
Like
went.
back at the sorority house, they had
I
guys, or
I don't know where, but
just in
a
general.
a bunch of men and women would hang out and socialize, and
Yeah.
some of the guys would pair off with the girls and have sex. How? I don't know. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. This poor little boy. He gets all the chocolate and candy that he could ever desire, and it feels from the stories I've heard that's how it is for men in college.
Hmm.
These girls are just giving it up. But
It takes it takes a lot of the special away from, the act itself. I mean, that's to me, that's one of the whole issues, is making everything about that less special. Too many partners, the situation is, no commitment, blah, blah, blah.
yeah, I don't think how it could be special when it's so easy. But
Nope.
that's my opinion. Maybe somebody in the chat box thinks, "Hey, I had a one night stand and it was special." So if you had a one night stand and it was special, go ahead and tell me. But
They're those
I don't.
legendary one night stands, aren't they, Joe? That you hear legendary, somebody had a one night stand and it turned out great.
Yeah, and there's other guys who go to baby jail for 18 years, or they get an itch in their crotch.
Or both.
And all right, I'm going to tell this story before we go back to the video. When my wife became pregnant, the doctor's like ordering a round of STD test. And I'm like, what the hell? But I felt really out of place because I'm in a place where I'm not supposed to be, I'm with the female doctor, So I keep my mouth shut. And then sometime later, I run across this news article where 60 million American women have an STD. And then suddenly that thing flashed back where the baby doctor, the OBGYN, ordered a round of STDs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense now. You don't ask if a woman's promiscuous. You just got to do it. If 60 million women have an STD, and women, if you're curious, it's 50 million men. So the men, they don't catch it quite as easily, I guess, as the women. But the odds still aren't good for you. There's 50 million American men running around with an STD. All right, let's go back to the video.
he's cute and he's intelligent, but if the sex has gone super bad, you say actually he was not that intelligent.
Yeah, if it was like really positive, then I do believe that she's gonna look for like positive traits in the man.
You construct the personality of the person, of that person based on of those facts.
Find a good reason why we slept with that guy, like a more positive personality.
Trying to justify what had happened, maybe, but could go either way. Either you try to find really positive traits or really negative ones.
Yeah.
Suggest you won't do it again.
We just tend to ignore the negative components.
Is it common for a woman to have regrets if she sleeps with a man too quickly?
No.
It depends on how the man leaves.
Not for me, not for my circle of friends.
I think it's more when girls actually looking for a relationship out of that guy that they regret it.
Too quickly I would say no, but like at all I would say you could have regrets. At least I do have some regrets to some extent that I slept with that person. Not that I did it too early.
I think if a guy just kind of after a one night stand is like just not nice to you and stuff, then you regret it. But I don't think generally it's for pleasure at the end of the day. So if you got what you wanted out of it, then I don't know if there's much regrets for girls.
The society tries to think that they to make us feel guilty, but it shouldn't be you shouldn't feel guilty at all, and you should do whatever you want.
I think it used to be yes, and some people still do, but I think there's been a lot of positivity surrounding women recently.
I feel like nowadays we're not that judged anymore if you have sex on first night, first date, whatever. I feel like that's okay, that shouldn't be a problem for anyone.
What is the appropriate amount of time to date someone before sleeping with them?
No appropriate amount, whatever feels good.
There is no appropriate time.
If you want to sleep with someone on the first date, go right ahead. That is honestly normal these days, I believe.
I don't think there's appropriate amount of time. I think when you connect, you connect.
There's chemistry. If they want to go home together on first date, that's fine.
If you feel a connection and you can have sex with them the first night.
I don't think there's any appropriate time. I think it's just when you think you're ready.
There's no time. No.
There's
It
no
happens
time.
when it happens. Maybe it's just 1 month. Just no. It's maybe.
All right, I'm pausing it again. All right, I played with the audio cables. I was trying to pipe in the audio for Mrs. Ka, but I don't think she hears me right now. All right, I cannot do, I guess I just can't do this on the fly. Guess I just can't do this on the fly. Oh, whoops, I made a mistake on the, I'm old. I can't do two things at one time so good. All right, there. All right, Mrs. Ka. All right. I tried to change something and I changed the wrong setting. All right, so the appropriate amount of time to date someone before sleeping with them was anywhere from, well, 1 night to maybe a month. Okay. So, let's see. That's just crazy. That's just crazy. All right. Can you hear me, Mrs. Ka? All right. I think I fixed it so you can hear that audio pipe through now. But I'm just, I'm an old guy, I guess, because, I'm listening to these folks. And there's not much shame. I think these two girls have a hint of shame, but I didn't notice any shame on the other girls that they were talking to. And maybe this is not a representative sample because, you do have to be somewhat bold to talk to a stranger about this subject. So it's not necessarily, scientific, but I was just blown away at the other girls. They don't have any shame. They don't have any shame. All right.
That's just shocking to me that all of these women had shown signs of. Now I'm getting a lot of feedback on my end when I'm talking.
All
What
right.
happened?
It's just me being a noob with these audio cables.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's play again. All right, no audio then for you because of the feedback. And back to the next question.
If it's 1 month or just 2 days or 3 days, I think that you cannot have, yeah.
Because I have had experience of 4 months dating
Yeah.
and 2 days dating. So it depends on what you feel.
Yeah.
What's more attractive, a man who is obviously keen to sleep as soon as possible, or a man who is happy to wait?
Happy to wait. For me.
I think in the long term marriage material, I would want someone that's prepared to wait, just so you don't feel like an object.
Seeing as I do go for the husband, and I find it more attractive for the guys. I want to sleep with you quickly.
I think it depends on like what I want. If I just want casual, so if I really like the guy and want like a stable relationship, but maybe for me, it's more attractive man who wants to sleep with me right away.
Well, probably a man who's need to wait, but it's also there can be some charm, and like if you really want to be desired like right now, then it's also charming if someone comes and is like, oh, I want you right now. That also has this charm.
So both is the right answer.
Right.
That's
Apparently.
correct? Both is the right answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, both is the right answer. It's good to wait and it's good not to wait. But how as a man you're supposed to know what she wants?
Well, what's interesting is the question, what's more attractive? Just because something is attractive to you, just because a man acts like he wants to sleep with you doesn't mean you have to do it just because you find it attractive. Does that make sense? Like,
mm-hmm.
So,
I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words here. Let's continue.
it is fascinating.
I guess if you wanted a long-term thing or a short-term thing, I think that would affect it.
You need to feel that, okay, I'm attractive to that person and he wants to have relation with me, but it's not something desperate because he needs to this night, because if not, he will die. No, you know?
I feel honored if I meet someone and he wants to sleep with me like right away because he finds me interesting, he finds me hot even.
Should men be concerned about a woman's ability to commit to him if she has had a lot of partners in her past?
I think if a woman has had partners in her past, it should mean absolutely cool.
No, not really, because that really doesn't say anything, does it? I mean, maybe she had countless partners but was never in love with them, but if she's in love with that particular guy, then she's gonna commit to him.
I don't think the amount of partners people have had in the past has anything to do with their relationship that they're about to go into.
No. If he's concerned, he should change his mind.
I think it's like a wrong conception that we have in this society.
It's hypocritical if a guy's count is 200 and a girl's is 100 and they're like, ew, you're grown, like you're obviously and stuff.
I don't think like that your past should define you, because past can be past and then you can be a different person than you were 2 years ago.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of it. Yeah.
Isn't that special? This girl in the red dress, and all the other girls the same. They just don't think their past should matter.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure if you could. I think I can hear your audio now. So,
okay.
Yeah. Right.
But how interesting, you know? All the women are like, no, it shouldn't matter. Max J, that's a disturbing thing. That's why I always go for the ear hole. Well, if it fits, I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. All right, but men, should her past matter, men? Let's see what the men in the box have to say. I think it matters. All right, let's finish up the video. We're almost through it.
It matters to men, and that's that's important too, isn't it? That it matters to men. It affects a man's desire and ability potentially to want to stay with somebody. So,
well,
regardless of how it affects her.
So this is where it is shocking to me, because most men universally say it matters.
Right.
Now I have had some men, and when I said, I've talked about this subject with some men, and they say, look, I don't want to know.
Right.
But I think they're coming at it from the opposite point of view. They don't want to be asked that question in return. That's why I think they say it.
Oh, I think they don't want to imagine what their women have been doing with other men.
Okay, that is totally possible. But most men, it matters. It matters. And
right.
I guess it does matter to the guy that's not asking, because it matters. He doesn't even want to know. He doesn't. You're right. So look at the disconnect. These women are saying, no, it doesn't matter. So are they also saying it doesn't matter what a man wants? Or are they ignorant? Are they ignorant, or they don't care?
I think they're trying to reassure themselves and the person asking the question that they are still able to commit, because the question was on their end, admittedly, about whether or not men should be worried about their ability to commit. So they're trying to reassure us all that they do still have the ability to commit and pair bond, if you want to use that term. But sometimes I think people, protest a little too much. I think sometimes they're telling themselves that they have that ability. It's kind of hard to say when you've got women that have had a lot of sexual partners, and they're having an issue with a man wanting to be marriage material, have them as marriage material. Sometimes it's hard to say whether they're having the trouble bonding, or the man's having the trouble bonding, or if it's both of them. It gets very complicated. The more sexual partners you throw in the mix, regardless, it gets more complicated.
Yep. Okay. And we got a Grinch in the box.
Oh, really?
Okay. Let's finish out this video. We have 2 minutes left.
And 2 years ago, you might have slept with 100 people. Could be, and I don't feel guys should really judge a woman from the amount of partners she had.
No, they shouldn't. But I can relate to that thought, and I maybe can confirm that about people I know, girls I know who slept with many people, have more sexual partners, have less committed relationships automatically.
Some women can be, not having for 2 years and be fine. Some women need it a lot more often, and that's fine.
It depends on who you are in the present moment, and if you are a person who's willing to commit, then that's it, and that's what the person should listen to and accept.
So you think it's a neurotic or a irrational fear?
Yes,
yeah.
Maybe of being compared with others and domination above the women. So I'm the one that have more experience than you, and leaving you you are just a subject there.
Anything else?
I think that's good.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you're looking for a way to help the channel out, maybe consider becoming a contributor.
Well, that's interesting. Now I don't know if Mrs. Ka has anything to add, but I want to play a few minutes of another video. So Alexander made a second video about this. I don't really want to go into the whole thing because he takes off in a tangent that I thought was pretty boring, to be honest, but I would like him to just share with you the reaction that he had gotten from this video. But before we do that, is there anything you'd like to add about the last part of this?
No, I think we pretty much cut. I mean, it's just women trying to justify, you know, that they're okay to bond after sleeping with a bunch of guys. So, same stuff.
All right, so let's play a couple minutes of Alexander, you know, just talking about the reaction that he had on this video.
So I released a video on this channel called These Women Don't Think Their Past Should Matter. It was a street interviews video featuring women from the UK and from Austria. Now, the actual topic of the video was about backwards rationalization, the sort of mental tricks and processes that people go through, especially women, after they've slept with somebody in ascribing them positive characteristics, sort of talking themselves into a behavior that they've already done. I chose to do a video on that topic because it's always been fascinating to me how women will choose to sleep with a man based on primarily biological cues, but then after the deed is done, they'll sort of rationalize it by a huge number of other factors. I've always just found that process fascinating, so I wanted to do a video on it. But in order to sort of warm the girls up and lead up to that question, I started with a few tangentially related questions. It was just to kickstart the interview, and I can confidently say that in all of the videos that I've ever featured, the first question on that video generated a larger response than anything I think I've done. After listening to the responses from the girls in the first question, the comment section just exploded. I'm going to play a small clip from that video so you know what I'm talking about.
How many sexual partners is a woman likely to have by the time she is 30?
How many is she likely to have?
Maybe around 15.
15? I think any amount is acceptable, but on average I'd say over 20.
5 to 10, maybe.
All right, we just watched this.
50, only because for women, I think they're very experimental in their teenage years. And that's a normal number.
Video, I put a link.
Okay to have 200's also fine, you know.
So that was the footage that got a really strong reaction. If you want to see the full video, I'll put a link in the description box below, and I recommend you check it out if for no other reason than to read the comment section. Now, I will do a video in the future that explains the evolutionary psychology behind why men feel an aversion to a woman who's had a lot of partners, but that's not what this video is about. This video is going to be about the statistics, because what I want to do is address the questions that people asked. Are the numbers that these women are saying?
There you have it. There you have it, guys and girls. This guy has put out a lot of content, Alexander Grace, and he has not had more feedback or a more visceral reaction than question number 1 of how many sex partners are you likely to have by the age of 30. So that tells me something. That tells me that it matters. It matters a lot to the men.
It matters to women too, deep down.
Those women say otherwise.
I know it. Well, they say otherwise. Well, they're guessing numbers, but then when you ask them about emotional bonding and so, like, just like Alexander said, when they're trying to justify the relationship, they're saying deep down that they want to have longer term relationships than what they're having. That's my opinion.
Well, that's what you're here for.
Some of that is shining through, you know.
The female perspective. All right, so how did we become acquainted with each other? Did you start watching that so-called life coach, or was it
no, I was
MGTOW stuff?
I watched Jamie's stuff actually.
How did you get there?
Oh gosh, that's a convoluted story. Were you
watching MGTOW videos or not?
No, I was watching vegan videos, and I'm not a vegan. I don't know why I was watching vegan videos. And there was this goofy vegan guy who was talking about MGTOW, and I'm like, what in the heck? You know, and I followed some of the links that he had on that video, and somehow I ended up on Jamie's channel because Jamie's channel made the most sense to me.
Vegan, Jamie, okay, I can see the link.
You know what I mean? As far as like when you find out what MGTOW is, you're like, oh my gosh, you know, it seems a little extreme. And then Jamie's views were a little bit more towards that made more sense to me for modern day, behavior and stuff. But the reason that the red pill interests me and interested me originally was that my husband had a lot of, just basically had red pills stuffed down his throat with his first divorce. And where he ended up, financially screwed, emotionally screwed. He ended up with, oddly, 100% custody of his children and raising them. And the mother, went off and made a family somewhere else. So, it were really the fact that she did that to him, and that was, seemingly not that big of a deal. I don't know. It really bothered me. So just exploring.
What do you mean? What do you mean not that big of a deal? Sounds like a big deal.
To anybody else, to the court system. My husband still had to fight his way through the court system to get custody of his children, even though her behavior suggested that she was not only not really wanting to be around the children, but not safe around them. My husband still had to fight his way through. Like, the courts were like, yeah, she seems like a good parent. Otherwise, my husband's sitting over there going, gyno judicial.
Mrs. Cox, it's the gyno judicial system. Okay, exactly. I got a 7-part series on that. You go to my channel and watch it. I'll teach you everything you need to know about getting fucked up the ass by the gyno judicial system. Okay.
Well, yeah, he already got to experience that. So anyway,
Mrs. Koff, if you like the video, you send me a picture of them long legs of yours. I'd appreciate it, okay?
Oh, the picture's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life.
All right, so you are the second wife who had to, I'm not going to say piece together a broken man, but you decided to love and live with a broken, you know what I mean by broken man, a man who had gone through the ringer.
Right. And
I'm not going to say that every man is broken and can't, but you know what I mean, I think.
Right. Well, you've been, you were divorced. You're in a second marriage.
That's why I use the word broken.
All that entails. Yeah, you absolutely know what that entails. And so to hear men talk about this and have this rage, and I understood it as best I could. I admired my husband tremendously, actually, for by the time I met him, his rage was, resolving quite a bit, but I still admire him for being open and loving and, just the way he is. I really do. But I understand why other men might not be so much like that.
Well, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of women out there that don't think twice about it. They don't think twice about it. And guys, after my first wife, told me that she wasn't happy and wanted to, get a divorce and, have a new and fabulous life, that apparently she couldn't have with me. I got this book, and heck, I don't remember the name of it. And so I can't share it with you, but it was a book for men who were the dumpy. And it's like, look, man, you need to understand what's going on in your wife's head. And it was kind of like, don't try to get her back. And they weren't saying it to be mean. They were just like, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on with your wife. Most likely, if your wife's having an affair, she's having the best sex of her entire life. Because she's doing something naughty, forbidden. It's exciting, Right. And just the whole, taboo factor alone, and breaking all these rules and finally getting away from the guy that's been, making her miserable or whatever. And this is just what the book was saying, she's having the time of her life, you better understand that. So this is female nature from the women who cheat on men, and apparently they don't have any problems. They do it, and they have a fun time doing it. And I was very shocked when I read that book, but it was good information, so I'm sharing it with all you guys. Maybe it works the same way for men who are cheating on their wife. I don't know. The book wasn't talking about it from that point of view.
So how did you end up here, despite being married again and everything already?
Oh, well, I was watching these videos before I got married again.
Oh, okay.
I think I typed in my wife was a bitch or something along those lines, and boom, what's this MGTOW stuff? Fuck these women. And then I'm like, yeah, right on, man. Fuck these women. Oh, yeah, she's a bitch. I know all about that stuff. And I don't know. Once I got plugged into the matrix of the MGTOW videos, I just stuck around.
But you still decided to get married again, huh?
Yes, because I do not subscribe to the belief that all women are like that.
Because you like a warm, wet vagina, Joe.
Please don't do. Please, no. Oh gosh. Oh, that's just terrible. But I don't believe all women are like that. However, how can a man tell? That I think the best a man can do is to choose wisely. By choosing wisely, find a woman who's low risk. And unlike what these women say, my past doesn't matter, what else does a man have to go on? So
right.
one of the things that I said is I will never date a woman who was divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she left one man, she'll leave another. And I don't want to hear about it. Well, she was the victim. He left her. Guess what? I so don't trust women that I wouldn't even trust her to be telling me the truth on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I just said no divorced women. And that's how much it bothered me that a woman would leave a man, even if it wasn't me. It just bothered me so much. I'm like, I don't want to have anything to do with you. But obviously, I'm a rare person in that regard, because most guys, they don't seem to mind. All these single women they're not even legally divorced. They're just separated, and they're on the dating sites getting dates. So, what do I know, Mrs. Ka? Men like divorced women, apparently.
Well, I've been divorced, so I don't have much room to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you were divorced because you're an evil woman. We know that.
I am evil, yeah. My husband was willing to take that on for whatever reason.
All right. Mrs. Ka is not evil, and it's not. This is not the place to go into that. All right. So the next video that we have to go through, and I don't know if we want to go through the whole thing. Let's take a peek on the screen and see how long it is. Oh, it's 15 minutes. She's going to make one central premise in the video that I think is worth talking about. And I'm going to just let it play because she's going to do the intro all by herself. You ready for me to play this?
Yes.
When I was in my 20s, I saw my very first psychotherapy client. I was a PhD student in clinical psychology at Berkeley. She was a 26-year-old woman named Alex. Now, Alex walked into her first session wearing jeans and a big slouchy top, and she dropped onto the couch in my office and kicked off her flats and told me she was there to talk about guy problems. Now, when I heard this, I was so relieved. My classmate got an arsonist for her first client. And I got a 20-something who wanted to talk about boys. This I thought I could handle, but I didn't handle it. With the funny stories that Alex would bring to session, it was easy for me just to nod my head while we kicked the can down the road. 30's the new 20, Alex would say, and as far as I could tell, she was right. Work happened later, marriage happened later, kids happened later, even death happened later. 20-somethings like Alex and I had nothing but time. But before long, my supervisor pushed me to push Alex about her love life. I pushed back. I said, sure, she's dating down. She's sleeping with a knucklehead. But it's not like she's going to marry the guy. And then my
Oh, I'd like the female perspective on this one. It's okay to marry a knucklehead because she's not going to marry the guy. Did you ever think like that when you were in your 20s? No, I bet you didn't. But did you?
No.
No.
I actually didn't.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think that's just wow. Just wow. If the guy's a knucklehead, if he's not worth being with for the rest of your life, then why is he worth your time at all? That's what I'm saying to myself. All right, let's go back to the video.
supervisor said, not yet, but she might marry the next one. Besides, the best time to work on Alex's marriage is before she has one. That's what psychologists call an aha moment. That was the moment I realized 30's not the new 20. Yes, people settle down later than they used to, but that didn't make Alex's 20s a developmental downtime. That made Alex's 20s a developmental sweet spot, and we were sitting there blowing it. That was when I realized that this sort of benign neglect was a real problem, and it had real consequences. Not just for Alex and her love life, but for the careers and the families and the futures of 20-somethings everywhere. There are 50 million 20-somethings in the United States right now. We're talking about 15% of the population, or 100% if you consider that no one's getting through adulthood without going through their 20s first. Raise your hand if you're in your 20s. I really want to see some 20-somethings here. Oh, yay, y'all's awesome. If you work with 20-somethings, you love a 20-something, you're losing sleep over 20-somethings, I want to see, okay, awesome, 20-somethings really matter. So I specialize in 20-somethings because I believe that every single one of those 50 million 20-somethings deserves to know what psychologists, sociologists, neurologists, and fertility specialists already know, that claiming your 20s is one of the simplest yet most transformative things you can do for work, for love, for your happiness, maybe even for the world. This is not my opinion. These are the facts. We know that 80% of life's most defining moments take place by age 35. That means that 8 out of 10 of the decisions and experiences and aha moments that make your life what it is will have happened by your mid-30s. People who are over 40, don't panic.
All right, now that's an interesting thing she just said. 8 out of 10 important life decisions happen by the age of 35. So I don't know where she's getting this number from, but if it's true, and you're being cavalier with the guy you're with, wow, you're blowing it. You're blowing it.
I appreciate her perspective in general about the concept that the 20s are a downtime, whether it's for, for relationships or work. I mean, for men and women, like it seems like the 20s have kind of become this vacation time. It's weird.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to.
I know.
For me, when I was 30, I'd been a father for, 9 years. I had 3 children, and my first wife, same thing. We were the same age. So that was our life. And you were married young too, I recall you telling me. So
I
yeah,
was,
that-
and I worked on my career during that time because I didn't have children. I worked, I've had a 20-year career by the time I was 40. But I knew people that did treat it more like a time to explore, and I still see that, I still see
Well,
that
sure.
today. It's
Sure.
fascinating to me.
So the flip side is that the 20s is an extended adolescence. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So remember that rabbi that I shared that video with?
Yes. Uh-huh.
All right. So he says, so there's this rabbi. He runs this like a religious school for girls, and they were asking him all sorts of questions about life, especially becoming a woman and growing up and getting married. And he said something interesting, and I think it's true. He said that men don't become men until they have to. That might be not exactly what he said, but basically he's like, you don't mature. Maybe it was mature, not become a man. He's like, you don't mature until you have to. So necessity is what makes a person mature.
Mm-hmm.
And when you push everything back, all of these big life decisions, well, then there's no reason, there's nothing forcing you to become mature. And so you're just an immature 25-year-old or an immature 30-year-old.
Right.
Now, in your experience, being an older person now who's gone past your 20s, what would you say? Is that true?
Absolutely. You've got to have something, I think, that triggers that being grown up, whether it is a family and or a job. My job had a lot of responsibility, and I remember being 21 years old and they turned me loose on the floor as a new RN, and I was thinking, do they know what they've done? Do they know who they've let loose here? I know nothing. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. You grow up quick. You learn how to do what needs to be done so that your patients don't die. It's pretty important. So, and that's why the military tends to be a good solution for a lot of young men. It's an important thing that they've been given, important responsibility. And so, yeah, sometimes it is harder to grow up when you don't feel that sense. Some people feel that sense of responsibility just being in college and heading towards their career or getting married and having their family. They grow up. They're ready to take care of their family. So, and other people kind of
no doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I think one of the big things that has changed in our country is that they got rid of the draft, and so grandpa, almost all the grandpas went into service. You didn't necessarily get drafted, but it was a high probability.
Right.
And between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, they needed men. And that, by necessity, would, make you grow up. Here's some drill sergeant yelling at you, calling you names, telling you to, do this right. Wow, you're gonna have to, snap to it. And I would imagine that the loss of the military, as well as the loss of people settling down and getting married sooner, is just encouraging this adolescent stage going way, into the 30s for some people.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, and I don't think it helps that when Obama did the Affordable Care Act, that they made it mandatory that the children can stay on mom and dad's insurance through their mid-20s.
Right.
I mean, that's like giving the official seal of approval to, being a teenager until you're 25, 26 years old. Just crazy.
Right. Then you don't know how to go to a doctor's appointment without your mom, you know.
Mommy, I'm sick, but I'm 26 years old and I lost your insurance. How's it work?
Oh gosh. It's sad but true. It's sad but true.
It's it's possible. I don't know. I'm just teasing, but I don't know. Maybe there's a lot of people out there that really don't have a clue. I will say that there is a culture of dependent people, and they don't have a clue. Unfortunately, I've seen. I had a story where I sold this house to somebody, and about 2 weeks before the closing, there was a home inspector, and in the process of flushing the toilet in the basement, the toilet kept running. Something on the valve got stuck, and then it backed up. So it was just clean water, mind you, but there was tree roots in the sewer line that were not known before. So no harm, no foul. Things got cleaned up. The sewer line got rotted out. So I thought. Apparently, whoever did it didn't do a thorough job. Homeowner calls up, really PO'd about 4 or 5 days after closing. Maybe 5-6 days after closing. And what had transpired was, I guess running water down it wasn't okay, but having this single mother with her 2 teenage daughters putting their toilet paper and maybe sanitary products down there, it clogged it up.
Oh gosh.
And she was a renter her whole life. And so I told her, because it was a weekend, and I'm like, well, look, it's expensive to hire a plumber on a weekend. I said, I'll hire a plumber. I was feeling a little bad because I did know about it, and apparently whoever did it the first time didn't do a good job, so I was feeling a little bad about it. So I'm like, don't use the bathroom, please.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what she tells me?
What?
She gives me earful. What do you expect me to not use the bathroom? I'm like, that's exactly what I expect you to do, because that's going to back up in your basement and get on your carpet. So that's exactly what I'm telling you to do. Oh my goodness. Just to shut the lady up, I paid some plumber triple time to come out on a Sunday. I believe it was Sunday. And she was all mad until she talked to her lawyer and said, well, this is real estate. It's not like you went to a car dealer, or, you went to Target and you're stuck with that house.
Right.
But anyways, that was just the most remarkable thing about these people who had been renting their whole life, and she had been on welfare too. She had recently gotten off the welfare rolls, and that whole dependent mindset is just crazy. And unfortunately, I'm not saying the 20-somethings are that irresponsible or that naive per se, but until something makes you grow up, how are you going to get this life experience that you need?
Yeah, and it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know. At that point, if you haven't had something that has forced you to grow up, I mean, you can be a perfectly nice person and fairly productive and all that, but you'll know it when something comes along that is going to make you grow up. You'll know it, whether it's, in some cases, if you manage to stay clear of everything else, it can be a parent getting sick, or dying. Something is going to force you to step up, and it will happen. But until then, a lot of times people really don't know what they don't know, and that's hard. It's hard to explain that to someone, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
All right. Well, let's see what Meg is her name, I believe. Let's see what Meg has to say.
Crowd is going to be fine, I think. We know that the first 10 years of a career has an exponential impact on how much money you're going to earn. We know that more than half of Americans are married or are living with or dating their future partner by 30. We know that the brain caps off its second and last growth spurt in your 20s as it rewires itself for adulthood, which means that whatever it is you want to change about yourself, now is the time to change it. We know that personality changes more during your 20s than at any other time in life. And we know that female fertility peaks at age 28, and things get tricky after age 35. So your 20s are the time to educate yourself about your body and your options. So when we think about child development, we all know that the first 5 years are a critical period for language and attachment in the brain. It's a time when your ordinary day-to-day life has an inordinate impact on who you will become. But what we hear less about is that there's such a thing as adult development, and our 20s are that critical period of adult development. But this isn't what 20-somethings are hearing. Newspapers talk about the changing timetable of adulthood. Researchers call the 20s an extended adolescence. Journalists coined silly nicknames for 20-somethings like Twixters and Cadults. It's true. As a culture, we have trivialized what is actually the defining decade of adulthood. Leonard Bernstein said that to achieve great things, you need a plan and not quite enough time. Isn't that true? So what do you think happens when you pat a 20-something on the head and you say you have 10 extra years to start your life? Nothing happens. You have robbed that person of his urgency and ambition, and absolutely nothing happens. And then every day, smart, interesting 20-somethings like you or like your sons and daughters come into my office and say things like this. I know my boyfriend's no good for me, but this relationship doesn't count. I'm just killing time. Or they say, everybody says as long as I get started on a career by the time I'm 30, I'll be fine. But then it starts to sound like this. My 20s are almost over and I have nothing to show for myself. I had a better resume the day after I graduated from college. And then it starts to sound like this. Dating in my 20s was like musical chairs. Everybody was running around and having fun. But then sometime around 30, it was like the music turned off and everybody started sitting down. I didn't want to be the only one left standing up, so sometimes I think I married my husband because he was the closest chair to me at 30. Where are the 20-somethings here? Do not do that. Okay, now that sounds a little flip, but make no mistake, the stakes are very high. When a lot has been pushed to your 30s, there is enormous 30-something pressure to jumpstart a career, pick a city, partner up, and have 2 or 3 kids in a much shorter period of time. Many of these things are incompatible, and as research is just starting to show, simply harder and more stressful to do all at once in our 30s. The post-millennial midlife crisis isn't buying a red sports car. It's realizing you can't have that career you now want. It's realizing you can't have that child you now want, or you can't give your child a sibling. Too many 30-somethings and 40-somethings look at themselves and at me sitting across the room and say about their 20s, what was I doing? What was I thinking? I want to change what 20-somethings are doing and thinking. Here's a story about how that can go. It's a story about a woman named Emma. At 25, Emma came to my office because she was, in her words, having an identity crisis. She said she thought she might like to work in art or entertainment, but she hadn't decided yet, so she'd spent the last few years waiting tables instead. Because it was cheaper, she lived with a boyfriend who displayed his temper more than his ambition. And as hard as her 20s were, her early life had been even harder. She often cried in our sessions, but then would collect herself by saying, you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. Well, one day, Emma comes in, and she hangs her head in her lap, and she sobbed for most of the hour. She'd just bought a new address book, and she'd spent the morning filling in her many contacts, but then she'd been left staring at that empty blank that comes after the words, "In case of emergency, please call." She was nearly hysterical when she looked at me and said, "Who's going to be there for me if I get in a car wreck? Who's going to..."
All right. Oh no.
Did you get a copyright?
Maybe. My stream is dead.
I wonder who did that.
I don't know.
Was it, I mean, a copyright for one of the videos?
I have no idea. I have to open
That
up my
was
mail.
fair. Those were fair use commentary.
I don't have any. I don't know.
That is just, that's
Your stream
crazy.
is temporarily be blocked. Oh, we detected copyright audio and video.
Goodness sake.
Let's play some more Alexander Grays.
Saying normal. Is this typical? Is this accurate? Does the data reflect this? We do need to look at actual research studies on this question, because it's not enough to just listen to some anecdotal evidence from a couple
Are you
of
able to
women
restart
and then
the
assume we
stream?
know what the truth is. Now, at the time of making...
Because, yeah, you're offline.
I don't think I'm... What's the word? I don't think it's dead, because it says I'm still streaming.
You're not. You're off.
All right. I'll have to make a new one. Well, so much for TEDx. Can't do that.
Sure. How long have we been on?
Over an hour. We can just wrap it up, but let's let me make a new stream.
Okay. I was gonna say we can always continue. Oh, did it come back? Okay.